Yes, welcome in to your NFL pregame show. I'm Rob Trujillo, here wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, along with my guys Sterling and David. And what a week of chaos across the sport that we love so much. Not only with the games that have already transpired in the NFL, but also down in college football. Ooh. And, you know, we don't spend a lot of time talking college football here or recapping games, but I just want to do both quick to start our little pregame show here before we get into the entire day's action. Easy, Sterls. He's all excited over there. He can't wait to he's like a dog on a leash. Just give me 1 second, dog. I'll get to you. Remember to follow us on all the things. You can see our ats right there. And we are going to talk about what you want to talk about. This is your NFL pregame show. So if you have questions about your fantasy, your survivor picks, your bets, your parlays, whatever you want to talk about, drop it in the chat and we will give you our opinions on it. But we have to start, and we'll get to the NFL on Thanksgiving. We have to let my boy have the floor here. Because as you see, he's got the big blue M on. And what an upset yesterday. And what an upset Saturday, just in general. I mean, Syracuse gets a big win over Miami in the Dome.
That Georgia game?
Georgia was crazy all the way down to the end. Who was the other top 10 team who lost? There was one more. And then, of course, Ohio State, number 2, loses to the worst iteration of Michigan this decade. Go ahead, Searles. I mean, take your cakewalk, dog.
Well, one, it's great to be a Wolverine this morning, every day. And, you know, what's funny is, you know, we heard all year, you know, first of all, Ohio State has beat Michigan in now 4 seasons. Okay. And the thing was this time was, you know, there's always an excuse with Ohio State. Oh, well, you know, you had Harbaugh. Oh, well, you cheated, you know. So what they decided to do, all their main seniors said, you know, we're coming back. Okay. And not only that, but the alumni club is going to give us $20 million to go buy players. Michigan lost 17 starters, 3/4 of their coaching staff, and went into your house and kicked you in the mouth. Like, come on, man. Like, who cares if Michigan was 6-5 prior to this game? But in this rivalry, first of all, it's the greatest rivalry in sports. In this rivalry, it doesn't matter what you've done the whole season. It matters if you beat Ohio or you beat Michigan. Michigan,
I don't even know if it's
Ohio for the fourth
football,
time in a row. 4th time in a row.
Now, so here's the thing. Before you get too high on your horse here, which it was a great win by your blue, I don't think anybody was picking it. I was watching shows the night before that were picking the game, and they're like, 21, I'd lay 45.
Oh, yeah.
It was the world thinking that you couldn't pull it off. So credit where credit is due. How many times in a row did Ohio State beat you before this 4-game winning streak?
7.
7.
That's okay, but guess who owns the overall series? Michigan. Guess who won a national championship recently? Michigan. So all that Ohio State shit can get the fuck out of here. I'm tired of hearing their crying baby asses. I get sick of Ohio State.
You got them started, Rob. You got them started.
I know.
Oh, dog.
Pulled the ripcord right on that thing.
How many 5-stars do you need? How much $20 million
like a Beyblade.
Do you
Look
need?
at him.
You still can't beat Michigan without a quarterback, without an offense. Get the fuck out of here.
Dropped him like a pog. Oh my
goodness. And then guess what? We're gonna take that flag and they put it right on your logo, and you're gonna get mad and cry. You want to fight now? Great.
Let's talk. Let's
now
talk
you
about
got beat up twice.
Reel in. Let's talk about that for a second. Because across the nation yesterday, there was flag planting or of sorts at different stadiums for different rivalry games. And a whole bunch of fights.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
A whole bunch of fights broke out. Now, Sterls, it sounds like to me you're in the camp of if you don't want them to do that, don't let them beat you, which I do understand. But for me, this is a very like internet trolling society type move, right? Baker did it. When he did it, it was original and it was cool, and now everybody wants to do it, and that's fine. But if you do it, you better expect a fight. Right? Like you better not take your flag and try to plant it in the middle of your rival's logo and not expect somebody to clap back at you. Because I think it's one of those internet culture things of like people have gotten too comfortable with doing and saying things and not getting hit in the mouth for it.
Texas beat Michigan at Michigan and planted their flag. There was no fight. If you want to talk about flag planting from Big Blue all season, disrespect, that's fine. Who's your college team? Who's your college team? I don't. It's a down year. They won a national title last year. Get the fuck out of here.
Wow, that really hurt him. Look at him.
Y'all crazy, bro. You trying to troll? No, get the fuck out of here.
To troll. I'm not trying to troll.
You trying to be sweet over there.
I'm not trying to troll. Here's what I am trying to say. I really, your guy on the field did an interview after the game, and I thought he was pretty well spoken. It was right after the fight.
Leo Mullings.
Yeah, and so you come to a kid right after a fight like that. And I thought he showed a lot of maturity in that interview. I thought it was a good interview from him. But also, he said you need to learn how to lose.
Exactly.
And I thought to myself, you also need to learn how to win. You know what I mean? Like that, what you did was trying to troll them, trying to go after them. And when you're trying to insult a man right to his face, he's going to defend himself.
Everything you just said is just soft as baby shit. It's college football. Soft? It's the biggest rivalry in sports, and Ohio State does it too. These teams.
I have no problem with you planting
Alabama.
Like,
come on, that's so soft, bro.
You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. I've got no problem with you planting the flag, but then don't be surprised when they come and bust you in the mouth.
Michigan wasn't, and they busted them in the mouth. So Ohio State took 2 L's on the day. How about that?
Listen, if it all ends with them. If it all ends with the 2 football programs essentially shaking hands and being like, well, that's the rivalry, then I'll be fine with it. But I better not see lawsuits and all this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like I better not see an NCAA investigation and Big Ten sanctions. Like I better not see all that shit. Because if you want to play those kind of games, then that's the kind of bullshit that you're playing, and you just have to accept that. I've got no problem with them planting the flag. I was amped up when Baker did it the first time.
It was great.
I have no issue with it. But if you do it, I also fully expect, if that was my team, that they go out and defend my fucking logo. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and they did. And
David, your thoughts on it? I don't think there was a clear winner in that fight, Sterls. You're acting like you won the fight. You won the game. I don't know that there was a clear winner in the fight.
Yeah, and the fight. The fight was 60 minutes on the field. That's what the fight was.
Your thoughts, David?
Can't hear you, bro.
Oh, yeah, we can't hear you. What did you do? Did you tap your...
There it is.
There he is.
Yeah,
there.
I was laughing too hard when Rob said... You had me.
No fight all season? Yeah, I know.
If it were one game and it happened and it's a big rivalry, that's fine. But it felt like that game, then the NC State UNC game, it just everybody's planting their flag. Rob, you're 100% right. Exactly what Mike Tyson said. The internet's made people way too comfortable with talking shit and not getting hit in the mouth. And there is a level of respect where you go, you beat us today. Like, that's one thing. But then you're basically trying to drag your balls across the team's forehead by planting their flag. That's disrespect on a level that people get put into bad situations for. So, it is what it is. I think it's kind of weak showmanship. Oh, look what we did. Doesn't do anything for me. Don't get me wrong. I like a good rivalry. But Sterling, to your point, I want to see that rivalry and that fire on the field, not after that.
Which I think you did, right? Like that was a tense game. And I think I heard Portnoy yelling it all over the place. They peed down their leg. I think that's actually a pretty apt assessment of it. I think Ohio State kind of pissed down their leg a little bit. But you definitely saw that intensity on the field. It's not like the game was a snoozer and then this happened. So when you say, oh, you had 60 minutes to fight on the field, I think they did. And like I said, I'm totally fine with you doing rivalry type things. You want to go plant the flag, plant the flag. But I also, though, I mean, and maybe it's something that happens like after this week, I would have Yellow Jacket security guards take a rope out to my logo immediately after the coaches shake hands. Like it would be roped off like you're in a locker room with a logo on the ground, so people can't do that.
That's an idea. They should do that next time.
Well, I think maybe that's something that comes in the future, but I don't know. It was a very interesting topic, and like you said, David, we saw it across college football yesterday. Sarkisian, even the last game of the night, last big game of the night, Sarkisian had to get his guys off the A&M logo to make sure they didn't do a similar thing. But great day of college football, a whole bunch of upsets. It is going to be fascinating to see the CFP bracket when it comes out. There were a couple losses that I looked at and I said, well, that team's going to drop to 12th in the rankings. And only one team can drop to 12th in the rankings. It opens it up for some 3-loss SEC teams, some 2-loss ACC teams, some 2-loss Big Ten teams. I mean, it's going to be chaos going into championship weekend. And they've kind of said nobody gets knocked out championship weekend. You won't get penalized for playing the extra game, your conference title game. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Any big predictions either of you want to make about the bracket coming out?
I want to see where Miami falls. They might just be out of it. I mean, losing to Syracuse like that, it's in my opinion,
good team.
Good team, very, very well. They're very well coached too. I like that guy. But yeah. It's one of those things, though, man. Miami had the opportunity of a lifetime with that quarterback Cam Ward, and for them to not have a secondary that can just hold the fort down has got to be disappointing. So they might be penalized to the point where they probably won't make it to the top 12.
You think they won't even make it in?
Man, it's hard, man, because SMU and who else I think is playing in the Clemson playing in the ACC title game.
Clemson and SMU.
Yeah, so it's like I just don't see it. I don't see a third ACC team making it to the top 12.
I don't know if Clemson makes it in if they lose. If Clemson wins, I think both SMU and Clemson get in. But if Clemson loses, especially with a loss to South Carolina, I'm not sure they make it in. I think South Carolina with 3 losses would make it in over top of them.
Yeah, they got a quarterback that's Sellers is really good. So I'd like to see him play some more football.
And then real quick, because I know we've already spent 15 minutes on it, but David, any thoughts about what's coming out here?
I'm glad we're not going to see undeserving SEC teams in these playoffs. I'm hoping.
You sure?
I just it felt like historically you're like, oh, you're in the SEC, basically just book it. And now you're seeing some other teams in some different conferences that are showing out, in my opinion, better. Granted, against different competition. Can't say enough about that, but it'll be a better playoff than usual, is my guess.
My quick prediction here is that SEC teams in the first round are going to get wiped out. Wiped out. One of them is going to have to go to either Penn State or Oregon. That's going to be a cold weather game. They're going to lose that game. One of them is going to have to go to Notre Dame. That's going to be a cold weather game. They're going to lose that game. One of them might have to go to Iowa State, which that would be a cold weather game, and I'd bet they'd lose that game. So, I think these SEC teams aren't as good as people think they are, to your point, David, and that they're going to go to these cold weather cities in this first round and get a little taste of actual football. You know what I mean?
You hit in the mouth.
For years they've said, oh, we play real football down in the South. And I saw a game where Tennessee was complaining that their heaters weren't working when it was 55 degrees out. So, Yeah, right. All right, let's flip over to the NFL real quickly. Let's talk about the games that have already happened in ascending order of holy shitness. We'll start with that way with the Cowboys and the Giants. Just a real simple question for you boys out of this one. The Cowboys could end today, I think, tied for a playoff spot or a game out of a playoff spot, which is kind of crazy. They're looking at a wild card. They've got 2 conference wins over the last couple weeks. They beat Washington and the Giants. Was there anything to take away from that Giants Dallas game, or was it just a college football game that happened on Thanksgiving?
The Giants don't have that many good players. They have a couple of solid players, but not a whole lot of top end talent. You had, backup quarterbacks playing against each other. I'm not reading too much into it. Unfortunately, the NFC is bottom heavy. So the ability for a 500 team to sneak into the playoffs, they might make it. And that just goes to show how chaotic and kind of bottom heavy the NFC is right now. I don't love it. It doesn't tell me, this feels like a Tony Romo Cowboys team. They're going to go into the playoffs. They're going to play a real team and they're going to get fucking stomped.
Yeah, I don't think there's a good chance that they make it. It's Washington is in the 7th spot right now. It's 7-5. And so, if they lose, then Dallas is a game out of the playoffs there. But I just think between the people in the NFC South, the NFC North. No, what am I thinking here? West.
East.
No, I'm thinking West. Between the teams in the NFC West, 2 of them will get hot through the end of the season here. One will win the division and the other will take that last wild card spot, in my opinion. But it'll be interesting to see if Washington can wake back up and keep running. Sterls, real quick, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. The Giants, the franchise is just in disarray. There's no direction right now. You're not even going to have Dayball. Your GM's going to be gone. You got Neighbors and you got a good defensive line, but it's time to go back to the drawing board. So, it is what it is.
Cowboys remaining games: Bengals, Panthers, Buccaneers, Eagles, Commanders.
Toast.
You think so? Because that's why I think people were talking about it. All those are winnable except maybe the Eagles game. Winnable. Doesn't mean that they will win, but winnable.
I don't know, man. The Cowboys haven't shown any consistency all season.
That's true.
And that's going to be their killer. And you don't have your franchise quarterback, albeit whatever you think about Dak Prescott, but Cooper Rush, doesn't really do anything for you, and you can't run the ball. So one of the things that you can rely on toward the end of the season, you got to run the ball. You got to start tightening up on defense. Cowboys can do neither. So they're not going to win maybe 2 games, in my opinion.
Now, if the Cowboys had taken Derrick Henry in the offseason instead of 2 broken down, garbage, washed up running backs, would we be having a different conversation even with Cooper Rush?
It changes.
If you had a running game that could, 1, protect your quarterback a little bit, 2, make your offensive line maybe look a little bit better than it does currently, and 3, give you a running attack even when your passing attack isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
I get it. Jerry Jones is a cheap fuck, and I don't love how that organization's run, haven't for a long time, but you got to be kicking yourself in the ass for that. You're like, we're going to bring Zeke back.
Yeah. Ooh. It would have changed the NFL, no doubt about that, in a lot of different ways. But it'll be interesting to see. I think there's at least a little bit of intrigue there about if they can crawl back into this or not. Your Black Friday game was Chiefs and Raiders, and man, we were all on the edge of our seat. Was it finally going to happen? I tweeted it out. This feels a lot like the Tebow Broncos. Like, what incredible, unbelievable, can't imagine it would ever happen thing is going to transpire to let these fools win this freaking game. And
this team,
I want to point
should
out,
be a 6-win team right now. I swear to God, but they have a horseshoe up their ass, and
yeah, and I want to point out that like there were a couple different times over these past few weeks where I was like, oh, you're giving Mahomes the ball back with like 2 minutes and a timeout left, and he did nothing.
Nothing.
He hasn't done a thing.
Yeah.
Their defense doesn't look good, and yet here they are at 11-1. It feels like the Eagles last year. It feels like the Steelers of 4 or 5 years ago, Roethlisberger's second to last year, where they won all those games, and we're all like, this is just not real. It's not real. So Sterls, I mean, I don't know your thoughts on it, but it just they feel like frauds to me, and I don't know how we prove it. I don't know how.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, keep winning. Just keep winning, because when the playoffs come, listen, when the playoffs come, they're going out first round. Whenever their first game is, they're going to lose, because I mean, you can't keep kissing death that many times and coming out unscathed. Like, it's just ridiculous to me. I mean, the probability of that failed snap percentage wise had to be below 10%, 5%.
And not being called a false start, dead ball.
Oh my God.
Just all of the things that could have gone wrong. And look, against the Broncos had them managed the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And then credit to the coaching for the Chiefs. They said, this is the weak side on the kick formation. We're going to overload them. And we're going to also, that happened to be paired with horrendous blocking. And they blocked a field goal to win the game. Fine. That's good coaching at the end of the game. Situational awareness. Sure. This garbage.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that they are going to continue. But here's the thing, and this is what everybody's afraid of, is do they just find a different gear when they get into the playoffs? And listen, I've seen teams do it before. It's not totally unheard of. I've seen teams do it before. A lot of those teams have been in the NBA. But I've seen NFL teams do it before, and if they do, it's going to be so frustrating, because they have done just enough to get themselves a premier seed.
But I don't think, they haven't shown, like, usually there's, the defense is good, but it's not great now, I would say. And then their offense is just kind of just like, they're trying to figure it out. It's been really hard for them to consistently move the ball, put points on the board. I just don't think that's going to flip a switch all of a sudden. There's nothing on the offense that gives me a sign to go, oh, wow, like, yeah.
Here's my thought on that. They're going to get Hollywood Brown back at some point, just like the Bills are getting healthier and we believe in them a little bit. I think their tackle is going to come back at some point, and that has been a real weakness for them on that offensive line. I think they're going to get healthier and get maybe a little bit better, but it is frustrating to watch for all the other NFL fans.
Remaining games, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, so this is, and I was going to save it for when we talk about the Bills, but we can insert it quick here. The Bills' challenge in their schedule is the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They got San Francisco, LA, and Detroit. If they can get through those and keep the pressure on Kansas City's pressure is at the end of the season, where they play Houston on a Saturday, the Steelers the following week on Christmas Day. So that's going to be like a Sunday, Thursday turnaround. It's going to be a Saturday, Wednesday turnaround. And then they play the Broncos the last week of the season, a game that the Broncos could need to get into the playoffs.
In Denver.
So, I just think the Bills have to keep the pressure on them, and eventually I do think the Bills can get the number 1 seed if they stay hot on their heels. But you're going to know before you get to their toughest part of the schedule whether the Bills were able to do that or not,
And you can't count on the Chiefs losing 2 games at the end of the season. If seeding's on the line, you feel like they will find a way, unfortunately.
Those Chiefs also clinched a playoff spot thanks to the Miami Dolphins going into the cold of Lambeau Field and I thought the cold narrative thing was a little bit too overblown. Maybe not.
I think there's
everybody kept putting out the tweet. Honestly, great call by the haters. They were absolutely right. Now listen, I thought Tua played better than he got credit for, but there were some throws that he missed that he just didn't seem to have enough oomph on it. He didn't seem to have the arm strength to get it through the cold and whatever wind was there in Lambeau Field. By virtue of that loss and Kansas City winning, they have clinched a playoff spot. By virtue of that loss, the Buffalo Bills can clinch the AFC East tonight. And so, real quickly, your thoughts on either I believe they're now 9-3 Green Bay Packers and how they looked, or your thoughts on the 5-7, I believe, Miami Dolphins, fellas.
Man. I think it starts with Tua. He was just kind of off, just missing some throws that, you expect him to make, or a quarterback with that kind of salary, you expect him to make some of those throws. The defense for Miami still has issues. No consistent pass rush. The back end's kind of, misaligned. But I do think there's something to be said about the Dolphins in cold weather games. They really haven't shown you that they can win a game in cold weather. Like it just the play, and then you see what got me was you see these players getting hurt, and you had a guy come after the game say like, "Yo, like in so many words, yo, we got to be on the field, man. Like we can't be getting hurt like that." So I don't know, man. I think it starts with your coaching. I think your the environment that's put forth, the locker room, that culture matters, and I just don't think they have it.
David?
So I'm going to say one thing about the Dolphins and one thing only. They can't beat good teams. They can't beat teams with winning records.
Do you believe that narrative?
Yes. Because every time it's come up to, hey, you can win the AFC East Championship the last week of the year at home. All you got to do is show up. Nope. Oh, you got to beat this team because you can do this. Nope. And the cold weather thing's its own thing. I agree. It doesn't seem like they're comfortable, which I get. If you're used to playing in somewhere between 75 and 100 degree weather year round, not my, that going to a cold weather snow game or like Kansas City in the playoffs, it was freezing, well below freezing and terrible. And if you're not built for that, you're not built for that. So that's its own thing. But I don't know if it's McDaniel's coaching, if it's the untimely injuries. I know their pass rush has been decimated with injuries the last couple of years, but good Lord, it just felt like they were undisciplined. It felt like they were listless. I mean, they're out there on the field and their defense, Cater Coe, who has to come off with the injuries and then he's back in and just like, nothing looks right. The communication doesn't look right. The hustle doesn't really seem there. And every once in a while they look good with the jazzy plays, but damn, not.
Yeah. To your point, David, Frankie jumping in the comments saying that, McDaniel tried to be friends with the guys and it backfired. He lost the locker room a long time ago, and that he's a coordinator, not a coach. And, I do understand people saying that. I don't know. I didn't feel like they were unprepared as much as I felt like it was the cold weather thing. There were two different narratives playing here, and the good team one, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to beat good teams.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to Tua being a good quarterback, but not an elite level quarterback.
Right.
Think about it statistically, though. It's hard to win in the NFL. Everybody can agree on that. If you are a top half team, which last year, one of the best offensive teams, blah, 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 that's great. Still can't beat teams with winning records. Still can't beat teams in big moments and must-win games. If it's hard to win, you'd expect somewhere between 25 and 50% of those games to be winnable, but they don't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should win all of them. I'm not saying they should win half. They should win a couple, and they don't.
It'll be interesting to see if they can limp their way into the playoffs here. Listen, that 7 seed is very attainable.
Yeah.
I mean, the Broncos, trying to catch the Broncos, I think, is absolutely possible. So
100%.
he I think, needs to do that to save his job. I don't know. I mean, I'm iffy on him as a head coach. I do agree with Frankie. He'd be a heck of a coordinator wherever he wants to go. He'd kind of have his pick of it, I think, to be honest. But yeah, it'll be interesting if he can save his job or not. Last game and the most impactful of the four that went off before our pregame show here was Bears Lions, and we never thought we were going to be saying that. Especially, midway through the first half, it looked like the Lions were just going to run away with that thing.
Yeah.
Turns out, no. Turns out that the Bears not only came all the way back, but really should have had a chance to send that game to overtime. Total flub. And I mean, it was apparent from the announcers to whoever you were sitting with at Thanksgiving, screaming at your TV, 100% of people knew what a disaster that was.
Fuck.
Yes, the coach is absolutely the one that has to wear it, and he has by losing his job. His post-game comments weren't great either. If the faux pas wasn't bad enough, his post-game comments weren't good either. Now listen, I understand what he was trying to say in the post-game comments. He was trying to say, yeah, he was trying to say that's what we were trying to make sure that we saved that timeout. Here's why. But it sounded like he said, nope, we made the right decision. I don't care. Terrible. So he loses his job over that. And I mean, I think there was really no other recourse for them but to do it. But I also do want to talk about, I mean, where's Caleb in that? Because for me, even if he doesn't have the right to call a timeout, which I was told by the coach that I work with, a lot of times coaches take that away. The quarterback doesn't have the ability to call a timeout. Well, I might go rogue there. I might be a rebel and call the timeout anyway. Because as soon as as everything's going on, it wasn't just that they decided to run the play. So they decided to run the play. He's trying to get everything together. That is something that we can debate about. But as soon as they have trouble lining up, and you start wasting time trying to get people into formation, that's when he should have taken a timeout, right? The coach should have banged the timeout as soon as he got sacked. But Caleb, as soon as they were having trouble getting lined up and he realized he was running out of time, still have to take the timeout there. So I think Caleb has to wear a little bit of it, but I think it was totally justified. Eberflus got fired. Sterls, what do you think about that?
Oh, yeah. You talk about a terrible exchange. But, I mean, again, Eberflus, who's the leader is what I want to know. Who's the leader of that team? And Caleb Williams is supposed to be the franchise quarterback. Despite him being a rookie, there's situational awareness that it's stewardship. You need to call the timeout. You're the leader. Call the damn timeout. I mean, and it's not like Caleb sat there. He sat there, and the time is ticking, trying to get people lined. I mean, take the time out. I mean, it's inexcusable for those two to not be in sync. Your head coach and your quarterback need to be in sync, and for them not to be in sync.
Well, they were in sync doing the wrong things.
Well, yeah, I guess so, right?
They were sinking. They were sinking. That's exactly what happened.
You got Cole Kmet and DJ Moore looking at each other like, yo, what the hell's going on? Like, when you see offensive players look at each other like that and you're the quarterback looking at them and you still don't call a timeout, like I don't know what Caleb Williams has been coached to do, but it's really bad. It's a bad look.
David?
Frankie J had a good point. Caleb's a rookie. I get that. But there's still responsibility. You don't get a playoff if you don't take that time out. So take the time out. And yes, you're going against your boss. I understand that. Guess who's not the boss anymore? The guy who got fired because he made a shit decision or didn't make a shit decision.
He was getting fired regardless.
Right.
Well, but it's one of those, does the soldier have to always do what the leader tells him to? And, sometimes you got to trust the soldier to use his own mind to make decisions. And Frankie's coming in hot. He was fired up about this. He also said this: Eber should have been fired last season. He wasn't good at all. He set Caleb back a year, in development and confidence alone. I don't think that's wrong. I was shocked they retained him in the offseason. And to that point, I mean, if you look at their last three quarterbacks that they drafted high, Trubisky, Fields, and now Williams, they had a lame duck coach their first season in the league. And I have no idea why Chicago keeps doing that. You are hurting these guys by not letting them have consistency through the beginning of their rookie year and the beginning of their careers. So, listen, I think it does say something about Detroit too. Quickly, by the way, they're beat up, man.
Yeah,
they are beat up.
Yeah,
they lost another. I mean, it seemed like every play they were saying a Detroit defender went down. Of their front seven on their original 53-man roster, I think there's two of them that are still, and that includes backups. Like, so many of them are hurt that of their original 53-man roster, there's two guys left from their front seven. They are beat up right now. That's not to say they won't get healthier as we get closer to the playoffs, but I think they're vulnerable over these next couple weeks. That defense is hurting. So any quick thoughts on the Lions before we get to our picks for today?
Oh no, man! The Lions are beatable. They are very beatable. Another injury to the secondary. I think that bodes well for Buffalo. So we'll see next week.
Yeah, well, a couple weeks.
Yeah,
next week. David, any thoughts on the Lions, real quick?
Still a team you got to worry about. Still a team that could put up 50 points every week.
Yeah,
but you're starting to see but you're seeing some weakness, which is good going into this time of year and knowing that the Bills have to play them in a couple of weeks.
Can you tell we're all Bills fans? All right, let's get to today's picks. We'll start with the Chargers and Falcons. Sneaky good game here. This one basically a pick 'em. Chargers -1 point, and it's a tale of teams going two different directions for me. The Falcons, I really thought were going to be able to take hold of that division and maybe end up as high as the second seed in the NFC. Instead, they've lost games to teams like the Broncos. That has been a tough year for them. But this is where veteran teams get right. Mm-hmm. This is the part of the season where veteran teams wake up and start winning games. And with as many talented veteran players as they have on that team, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons were one of them. They get the Chargers at home, who, lost the game to the Ravens, but I think overall have looked very good. David, your thoughts on injuries and such so far for that game?
I mean, there's some tough ones here. J.K. Dobbins, Loie Gilman, Hard, and Perriman are all injured for the Chargers. McClellan and Hughes for Atlanta, not huge injuries, but, concerning for the Chargers at least. West team coming east, I know that's rough, especially for an early start. The Falcons have been too inconsistent for me. And the Chargers, well, yes, they dropped a game to a good Baltimore team. They look good. And Sterls, I'm finally going to jump on your bandwagon. I think that type of game, the slow and steady wins the race kind of game, is going to give the Chargers the win. I don't love 1 point, but I'm going to go ahead and take it because I think the Chargers are going to win anyways outright. So I'll take the 1 point spread.
I got -1 on BetMGM. Sterls, what are you seeing around the league?
So what I'm seeing here is most people are taking the Chargers -1. Chargers dominate in the money line area, and then 71% of the bets in terms of the under and over, 71% on the over. So it looks pretty clear. The betting world sees the Chargers as a win here. I mean, again, we go back to running the ball and defense. That's what Harbaugh does, and I think he'll be able to do that today. Justin Herbert, when you do that, gives him more opportunities to make plays. Again, Justin Herbert's having a really good season. So I do think the Chargers win this game, and I think that spread should be about 6.5 if you ask me.
Damn.
6.5. Wow,
Dog,
man.
yeah.
I don't.
The Falcons are, listen, they're 5-6 against the spread. They're inconsistent. Like, you don't know what version of Kirk Cousins you're getting from week to week. We've seen this in his career for the last 4 years. I just, it's like you have these hosses on offense, but you don't utilize them correctly. I just think the Chargers defense is pretty good.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I do like the Chargers as a unit. I see Frankie hopping in with, I'm still not sold on Herbert being as great as people think. I tend to be a believer in him, and mostly because I believe his head coach now is not going to put him in bad situations.
There you go. That's
like
it.
his past head coach did. Now, listen, I am a very aggressive person. I'm a listen to the analytics person. And so, some of that stuff from Staley, I felt like I could justify, but there were some that were just, way too far over the top.
Yeah. I think you have to look at Justin Herbert and realize what he is. I don't think he's a top flight quarterback, right? But he's really good and has really good traits. And so if you give him good coaching, you give him a defense and a running game to rely on, he's going to do well in that situations. So that's what we're seeing this year. I'm not saying he has this elite talent. I think he's, probably in the 7 to 10 range in terms of top quarterbacks in the league. But I think he's doing well for what he's got.
I'm going to place a circumstantial bet here. Chargers lost on a short week. West coming east for an early game. Falcons have been reeling a little bit. I'm going to take the Falcons to win outright. I'll take them just money line. I'll let go of the +1. It doesn't really do anything for me. So I'll take Falcons on the money line. I think it's a tough situation for the Chargers, and I feel like this AFC wild card race is going to compact a little bit here. So I don't think the Chargers necessarily run away with a spot. So I think Falcons get off the schneid here.
Ooh, it could happen. It could happen.
All right, our next 11 o'clock game, Steelers and Bengals, and I think a better game than people think, but this line absolutely stinks for me. I mean, this line reeks. There's something wrong here. I don't know what's going on, but the Steelers coming off a loss, right? Didn't they lose last week?
Yes, to the Browns.
They're 8-3. I know that. Yeah, that's right, to the Browns. The snow game, the Thursday night.
With extra rest.
Extra rest.
Still +3.
Yeah, getting 3 points, going into Cincinnati, a team that has no defense. It's interesting because this game is strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness. Bengals offense versus Steelers defense, Steelers offense versus Bengals defense.
Crazy.
And yet the Steelers are getting 3 points headed into Cincinnati. I mean, if you can explain it to me, David, go ahead. You got an injury or something there that maybe helps flesh this out a little bit.
Sheldon Rankins had an injury. He's been out of practice all week. So you worry about Cincinnati's D-line. And Highsmith is really he's doubtful for Pittsburgh, but that's really the only kind of big name injury that they have right now. I don't understand this spread, but knowing that all of these AFC North games are just knockdown, drag out. We saw it with Pittsburgh and Cleveland. We saw it with Pittsburgh and the Ravens. I'm actually going to take Cincinnati because they can score points. Now, Joe Burrow may wind up getting killed by that defensive line that Pittsburgh has, but this is a weird one. This is one of the ones where I expected the Steelers to be the 3-point favorite here. And then when I opened up the app, I was like, -3. I mean, it's in Cincinnati.
It's not
but
even
that's
that.
like
It's not even that the Steelers are getting points. They're getting a full field goal. Like
right.
that, it is hard to get over that hump and get to +3 -110. You don't normally see that unless they really think that the Bengals are going to win that game. Sterls, what do you think about that there?
Yeah, it's one of those really, I mean, I wouldn't want to bet this game. It's a sucker. It's a sucker. I mean, this is a divisional game too. Add that to put that on the layer. And the spread, obviously, 71% of the bets right now are with the Steelers +3. But then you look at the money line, and people really believe like taking the Bengals on the money line has a higher probability. They're thinking that, to you guys' point, the Bengals offense is pretty good. Joe Burrow's still really good. So what I guess the question is, it's like how much of a game is TJ Watt going to have? Because if he's a game record today, then yeah, I can see the Steelers pulling this out. But man, if TJ Watt's not getting home and you don't have Highsmith on the other side, I just really do think that it's just going to open up the field for the Bengals and give Burrow more time to make plays. So give me, I want to go with the Bengals here, even though, what we've seen of the Steelers defense has been pretty good this year. I just think the Bengals are going to score more points.
I am very hesitantly going to take the Steelers. I don't know why this is like this, but I think it's piqued a lot of people's interest in terms of everybody kind of being like, I'm going to go with the Bengals because this doesn't sound right. I don't know. The Steelers are the better team, period. They're the better team. Now, the Bengals have the better quarterback, and that's what I like to do. I like to bet the better quarterback the majority of the time.
Yeah.
But the Steelers have been screwing me all on that all year long. So
right.
I'm gonna go Steelers here and trust that Mike Tomlin won't take 2 losses in a row inside the AFC North. He also does very well with the spread inside of 3 points inside of his division. So
yeah. And real quick, right now, the Steelers are 8-3 against the spread, and the Bengals are 6-5. And if you want the safest play here, in my opinion, will be the over at 46.5.
The over.
The over.
How often are Steelers scoring touchdowns?
It don't. But the Bengals offense can go off in any time. You know what I'm saying?
4 touchdowns.
Well, the Steelers are going to score at least 2.
Are they?
Yeah, I think the Steelers will score at least 2 touchdowns.
I've never known you for an over-under better, but look at you.
I'm just saying.
All right. 46.5 is the one that I see.
Frankie J, I'm with you, brother. I am with you.
All right. So that was Bengals Steelers. What's next on? Oh, Cardinals Vikings next on our list here. Another sneaky good game here, though I've heard people not necessarily intrigued by it. Hell, this could be a playoff matchup that you end up seeing at some point. Cardinals headed to Minnesota to play the Vikings. They're catching 3.5 points. Cardinals coming off an uninspired performance versus Seattle. I mean, I really thought they were going to go in there and take hold of the division, and instead they've turned it into this 4-horse race. With none of them looking particularly strong right now, though I feel like that'll change through the back half of the season. The Vikings have not once been inspiring, and all of a sudden you look up and they're 9-2.
Yeah.
And if the Lions weren't just absolute juggernauts the past couple weeks, they'd be the number 1 seed in the NFL, right? Or in the NFC right now. So it's, first of all, I mean, hats off to Kevin O'Connell for the job that he's done in a year where they lost their rookie quarterback, the guy that you thought they were going to go with. He has put that team in a situation where they can not only win the NFC North, but maybe get the bye. It's still very much in play for them. Cardinals headed to Minnesota to play the Vikings. David, what do you got on this one?
No big injuries on either team. So this is as close to a straight up game, full, maximum effort on both sides. No superstars are out. The Cardinals are one of those teams where you go, are you a good team, or are you in a bad NFC, in a really bad NFC West? I think they're better than they look, but there are games where you go, I just can't. The Vikings, again, a sneaky good or lucky 9-2. I really wish this was a 2.5 point spread because I'd take the Vikings by a field goal. I just don't know if the Cardinals are going to be ready for it. They're playing indoors, so it's not a huge temperature swing. I'm going to take the Vikings, but this game could easily swing the other way, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Strolls?
Right now you got the Cardinals are 7-4 against the spread versus the Vikings who are 7-3-1. I mean, I don't think we're talking enough about how good Kyler Murray's been this season. He's been pretty good this season. Now he didn't have the greatest game last week, but overall, man, for the Cardinals to be 6-5, where they should only be a 2-win team, in my opinion. These guys have been playing their ass off, but the spread says 65% of the bets are with the spread with the Vikings at -3.5. The money line, this is the highest money line of the week. It's 90% money line Vikings. And if you're an under-over better, 79% of the bets are with the over.
I have been a victim of liking the Cardinals too much all year. But before you get to your pick, Sterls, I just want to point out it is 3.5 for the Cardinals right now, but it's juiced.
Yeah,
they want you to take the Vikings here, laying the 3.5 points, which means they think that it's going to be a 3-point game, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get you to bet the Vikings because they think it's going to be a field goal game. They don't want you to take the 3.5. They want you to take the -3.5 and possibly lose if they win by a field goal. So who are you picking there, Strohs?
I'm gonna go with the Cardinals plus the 3.5 here. The Vikings being 9-2. I mean, it's a great story, but you see teams lose games like this, and I think the Cardinals are going to give them a good game today.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals too. I think they bring it back after a poor performance last week. I think that's a little bit of a wake-up call.
In Seattle, mind you.
I think it, and listen, 2 back-to-back road games too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something to think about. But I think the Cardinals perform better this week. I'll take the field goal, and this to me looks like a beautiful game to try to middle. Because if the Cardinals can get a score and get up early, and you got 3.5, you might be able to get a good number on the Vikings in game, and so that looks like a candidate for a middle game for me. All right, Colts and Patriots. Colts -2.5. Indianapolis going to New England. 2 teams that'll really hit you in the mouth. I mean, you'll give them credit for that. I think we're a long ways away from Gerard Mayo calling the Patriots soft. But they did get their butt kicked by the Dolphins last week.
Embarrassed.
Yeah. I think that's more just a talent gap thing. I don't think the Patriots are going to fold tents. I could be wrong about that. Maybe they do. Maybe they get their butt kicked by the Dolphins and they just, they're already 1-2-3 Cancun. But I don't think that's Gerard Mayo's mindset.
No.
And so I don't think that's going to be that team's mindset. The Colts, on the other hand, still chasing that last wild card spot. They're alive for it. And I got to be honest with you, fellas, with the way that Houston's been playing,
Indeed.
It's not totally out of reach for them to get back into this AFC South race. Anthony Richardson has played okay, but they've gotten a couple wins, 5-7 now. David, what are your thoughts on this one?
So this is a game where 2 not great teams meet up towards the end of the season, and you're hoping something happens. Cole Strange is out for New England. That's the only real injury they have. But for the Colts, you've got Bordellini's out, Downs, the receiver's out, Doolin and Smith are both out. Colts seem to be a little banged up right now. There's nothing the Patriots can do other than screw up their drafting, whereas the Colts are playing for that division right now. I just don't
agree with that. They got a young rookie quarterback in Drake May that they're trying to turn into a dude. They got something to play for. They got something, and he's played okay.
I'm not saying they have nothing to play for. All I'm saying is if we can get a really good draft pick next year and play okay versus the Colts, hey, we could actually win our division. That motivation lies with a division winner moving into the playoffs. For me. So as much as, again, 2.5 points is fine by me. That's a field goal. Of course, this is going to wind up being a 21-20 game, and I'm going to be pissed off, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Colts here.
Strauss?
Ooh, okay. So currently on the spread, 67% of bettors against the spread have put their money -2.5 with the Colts. The Colts are 8-4 against the spread. The Patriots are 4-7-1. This game, listen, man, I think Josh Downs being out in this game is really going to hurt Anthony Richardson, especially on third down. Josh Downs has been really good this season. And it's like the Patriots every other week, man, they're gonna give you everything they got. You know what I'm saying? And so last week wasn't great for them, but I do think this is the week where if you're gonna take that spread, give me the +2.5 with the Patriots at home. Yeah, I just think, Drake May had a bad game last week. Rookies are up and down, right? I think this game, it's gonna be better. I think they can win the game. I know it's crazy.
Only other thing to consider is the weather at Foxborough. Remember, you've got a team in the Colts who play indoors going into what could be a snowy mess.
I just think the style that team plays lends itself to bad weather, so I'm not necessarily overly concerned about the Colts going outdoors being a dome team.
Yeah.
37 degrees at Foxborough today, so
that's fine.
That's not bad.
December day.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
I'll lay the 2.5 points and take the Colts here. I think the Patriots.
So we have no consensus yet.
Love it.
No. I think the Patriots are going to be game. I think they're a team that's game, but a late touchdown, Anthony Richardson running the ball. I think the Colts are going to claw their way back into contention here. I don't think they give it up to the Patriots per se.
The over-under in this game is 42.5.
That's a lot.
That's tough.
Under.
That's tough.
Under.
It's not high enough that I bet an under, but I'd consider it.
Yeah,
I'm not a big over/under guy though, so don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
Take
but
everything I say with a grain of salt.
There's people out there who love it, and I think that's one you need to juice and take the under.
If you got a good feel for it, it's a lot of fun to bet over/unders. I don't think I have a good feel for it. All right, Seahawks Jets. Here you go. Everybody loves to point it out. West going east with an 11 o'clock start. Seahawks leading the NFC West. Hello. Good morning. Where did that come from? I don't think anybody would have picked that to start the season.
No.
Seahawks plus a point, headed to New York to play what is the absolute picture. You open up the encyclopedia and you see a picture of the Jets next to the word dysfunction. It has broken down there. Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams can get hot any game, and then all of a sudden everything that you think you know about the Jets goes out the window, and they screw your bets. So it's interesting. Here's the biggest thing that the Jets have done for me. They took a very young, very talented defense, and in rapid succession, in 2 years, have turned it into a very old, very mediocre defense. And I think that has been one of the true disgusting things that has happened in the NFL. That was a team that was poised to have a great defense, and they really just have kind of let it go. Conversely, I think the Seahawks have rebuilt their defense pretty well. Their offense, to me, their skill positions are all fine. I'd love to see an upgrade over Geno Smith there, but they just haven't figured out the line in the last 5 years. They just never figured out the offensive line, and I still don't trust their offensive line. So Seahawks getting a point going to New York. David, what do you got here?
So we got a couple of injuries for this one. Tyreek Smith's out for the Jets. Breece Hall and Mosley are questionable. Seattle has two kind of concerning ones for me, but not enough to make me bet the other way. Nwosu, their linebacker, and Forsythe are out. You don't love that for them, but like you mentioned earlier, they are a team getting healthier. They're moving in the right direction. It is a West going east for an early game, but this Jets team feels like they've lost motivation. Everybody's getting fired. And while, yes, there are people playing for future contracts or hoping to impress whoever the new regime is going to be, they're just not doing it for me. So with the kind of limited injuries for Seattle and kind of slightly more important injuries to the Jets, plus them playing terribly, I'm taking the Seahawks here. Give me that point.
Ooh. So let me ask y'all a question. How in the world the Seahawks +1? That's what I want to know. Like, what about the Jets this season has given you any inclination that this team is gonna, I'm really sincerely asking you guys this. Like, what's Vegas trying to tell us?
Right, and I feel like it's similar to the Cincinnati Bengals game. What it's not. If you would have tried to lay out a line for this early in the week, you would have said probably Seahawks -3, and instead they're getting a point. I mean, it feels like a big move. You wonder what it is that Vegas knows that we don't. To your point, Sturls.
So currently, right now, both these teams have losing records against the spread. They're very similar. Seahawks 4-6-1, the Jets 3-8. Geno Smith, passer rating when clean, something to keep of note here, is 105.4 this season. It's pretty good. He is the statistically better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. The money line suggests 74% of the bets are going with the Seahawks, and again, if you're an under/over guy, the over is the bets are at 75 on the over. So, with that being said, I'll take the spread here +1 with the Seahawks.
With all these people betting for the Seahawks, how it doesn't make sense that this game they're +1. I don't get
that's
it.
what I'm saying,
which concerns me.
I mean, I think part of it is the Vegas is always going to notice West going east for an 11 o'clock start. So I think that's where it starts. Then you got the 1.5 for being at home. And I don't know. I mean, maybe they're thinking a GM fire bump, right? Like maybe it brought the team closer together.
Who knows?
I don't know.
It makes you want to stay away from the game. That's for sure.
No, it makes me want to bet the Jets. So that's what I'm going to do.
Oh God.
I'm gonna listen to Vegas here and listen to my the stinky smell coming from this. Seahawks +1 stinks, dude. It smells.
You just don't want us to have consensus on any game.
No, you pointed it out, dude. Vegas is on to something here that I'm not following, and so I'm gonna fade it. I'm gonna take the Jets -1. Listen, Aaron Rodgers still a vet quarterback, still a decent defense. I don't think the Seahawks, talent-wise, if you just stack these two rosters against each other and don't think so much about the coaching or their current situations, just flat talent-wise on the roster, I think they're pretty close.
Yeah.
Problem is the Jets have had a disaster of a season and their coaching is an absolute disaster as well, which is why they find themselves in different situations. But I'm gonna play Vegas here. I'm gonna fade the people and play Vegas. I'll do Jets -1 point. All right, Titans and Commanders. I don't know if that's the least sexy game of the morning, but it might be. Titans getting 6 points. I've heard a couple people say that they really like this for their underdog surprise here. Listen, the Commanders have been playing like absolute booty. I mean, just total cheeks out in Washington after an amazing start to the year. I think everybody kind of said it. I know we said it here. That Washington team, people are going to start figuring out your quarterback a little bit once they get some tape on it, and you're going to have to change some things. Cliff Kingsbury never has been a guy that has been great at making adjustments in season, and I think it's starting to catch up with him a little bit here. Titans getting 6 points, going to Washington. David, what you got for this one?
Titans coming off a big win last week against a kind of reeling Houston team, really kind of screwing up my day betting-wise. Tennessee has no real injuries to speak of, which really does give them a bit of a power play here. Washington, Austin Eckler concussion, and Noah Brown with a knee injury, a couple of other questionables, but nobody of kind of severe import. I actually bet this one yesterday. and wish I hadn't because I took the Commanders -5.5. I'm feeling the Titans here. So this may be a game I look at kind of around halftime to see if there's something else I can do.
Interesting. Sturls?
Yeah, so right now the Titans are 2-9 against the spread versus the Commanders are 7-4-1, kind of resembles their record. 42% of bettors have taken the Titans on the spread +6, whereas 58 have taken the Commanders, so there's something there. That is the lowest margin of all these games this week. So with that being said, money line suggests that 94% have gone with the Commanders. I'm going to go with the spread here with the Titans +6. This Titans team, they've been in just about every game. They're just a team that they're going to play you close. The only two games that they really got smashed in were the Bills, the Lions, and the Green Bay Packers, but the Packers pulled out late. So I think they're going to give you a really close game. So give me the Titans here.
Our thing is that we bet every NFL game every weekend. I'd stay off this one if I could.
But you can't.
You can't, but I
hate it.
I don't know. I don't like anything about it.
Yeah.
Listen, let's just keep the theme going. I think the Commanders are not going to fall into the void here. I do think they end up making the playoffs. I think they slide a little bit more. But I think the Titans may be a little bit fat and happy getting another win finally. God, 6 points is just so much to lay. But I will take the Commanders here and lay the points and go with God, I hate it so much. Commanders
I know, right?
-6. Yeah, it's just gross. Okay. Last 11 o'clock game of the day, and then we'll get to the commercial question, hit the afternoon games and the primetime games, and get out of here. Texans and Jaguars. Texans have been playing like absolute cheeks. We talked about it before. They have not been good recently. Jaguars, well, they haven't been playing good all season. So it's really a question of who do you think steps their game up here? Listen, the Jaguars are a team that on paper I thought was going to be a lot better. They were my pick to win the NFC South and a little bit of a surprise. That has turned out wrong. Texans, like we said, have not been playing well. CJ Stroud's been struggling. David, what do you got here for this one?
Some interesting Houston injuries here. Fatukasi, Petrie are out, and then Xavier Hutchinson is questionable. For Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is questionable, and Abdullah's out. Hutchinson being out, giving Houston even less weapons. Again, this is one I bet yesterday, and I'm kind of regretting. I took the Texans -3.5. I would consider taking the Jaguars in this game. I would consider taking the Jaguars not just against the spread, but money line.
You know who the better quarterback is according to PFF between Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud?
This season?
This season.
That's what PFF does. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence would be my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, CJ Stroud has been playing like ass, man.
Terrible.
Awful. And now listen, I'm not worried about CJ Stroud long term. If you don't follow the league enough to know, quarterbacks having sophomore year slumps is absolutely a thing. It happens all the time.
Right.
And part of that is because the scheme normally stays the same from year one to year two. And so people can get a feel for the scheme and how to stop it. And then they can get a feel for the quarterback and what he doesn't like and what bothers him and how to stop that. You compound that with the fact that the Texans' offensive line has been terrible. It's been injured. They've been trying to find – they brought in Lyle Collins. Like, they've been trying to find whoever they can
Anybody
to fill holes on that offensive line. if your offensive line is no good and the tape is out on you, it's going to be a struggle for any second-year quarterback.
Yep.
So long term, I'm not worried about C.J. Stroud. But to your point here, David, this is definitely one that you would consider taking the Jaguars. Any other thoughts, or should we fly to Sterls here?
Sterls, it's all you.
Sterls, let's do it. What you got?
Texans 5-7 against the spread. Jaguars 6-5. We already went over who the better quarterback is according to PFF statistically. Both these teams, if you like EPA, the good news is the Texans have a positive EPA per pass. Whereas the Jaguars are negative in both run and pass from an offensive point of view. The community, the betting community says that 84% of voters have taken the Texans minus 3.5.
Are we voting?
The betters.
Texans for president?
The betters, excuse me. Versus the Jaguars at 16%. The money line suggests that, you would take the Texans with 94% on the money line.
Now, do you have wise guy numbers there, or just overall public?
Overall public.
This would be a game where I'd be really interested to see where the sharps are at. The big fish, right? The big whales, the guys who actually move the lines, who bet $50K a game. Those guys.
Yeah, I don't have access to that. So
there's a couple sites that have it, but it's not important. This is a game in particular. Normally, if you look at the overall line, it's really telling. I think this is a game where the public would be really scared to bet the Jaguars. And I think the sharps might be on the Jaguars.
That's where I'm going. I'm going with the Jaguars with the 3.5 here, just because, they're 2-9. They're going to win another game. The Texans on defense, listen, they haven't been great on defense, which is surprising this year. I do think that with Trevor Lawrence being back in the fold, I think they win this game.
Now, let's be clear. Trevor Lawrence is questionable.
I think he's going to play.
So do I. But questionable means there's doubt, and that means that he's not 100%.
Mm-hmm. Get your ass out there. Get out there.
Yeah, listen, I've talked to both of you at separate times about how I feel like this offseason is going to be an offseason of quarterback movement.
Mm-hmm.
And he is one of my main targets that I think is going to start the dominoes falling. I think not only does he have to get back out there to prove to himself that he can be the guy, but I think he needs to prove to the Jaguars that he can be the guy, or he is a candidate to get moved.
Yeah.
If they can move him in that contract to somebody who wants consistent quarterback play, like, say, the 49ers, my favorite landing spot for him, if the Jaguars end up with the number 1 overall pick and feel like Shador will come there,
you take him.
Right? How do you not? And even if he's as good as Trevor Lawrence, not better. They're 2-9 right now. What does he have to do to match Trevor Lawrence's performance?
Yeah.
If you take a guy like that and say, I get a rookie quarterback on a rookie quarterback contract for 5 years.
Yep.
And you get something back from, say, the Niners or the Jets or whoever you wind up getting to take that contract. You get maybe a second round pick as well. All of a sudden, now you're able to reload a little bit faster.
I think this whole thing, I think a lot of this offseason hinges on the Jaguars. And so it'll be interesting to see if Trevor Lawrence feels any urgency trying to come back and play. Sterls, I'm sorry. Did you give your pick? You did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to say, though, Rob, we've kind of talked about this. I feel like the Jags as an organization and their poor decision and coaches and GM have kind of broken Trevor Lawrence to where he needs to be moved to rehabilitate his career. So him not playing today is going to tell us a lot, that he's just like, get me the fuck out of here. I don't care.
Either that, or maybe it says that, the Jaguars as an organization believe in him and they don't necessarally believe in the coaching staff, so they're not going to put him at risk. I don't know. It's a really interesting
something to look
situation. God, I'm going to take the Jags. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to say that Trevor Lawrence is going to play and come back with a little bit of a vengeance. I think this AFC South thing is going to get interesting. I do think the Texans eventually figure it out. And if they have to play Kansas City in Kansas City as the 4 seed in the second round, I don't hate that. I feel like that's a game that they can win. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes as we near the end of the season here. All right, commercial question. So if you're new to the thread, a couple of our channels here are going to go to commercial. We'll ask some kind of stupid question and then give you the answers as we come back from the break. But just a chance for us to have a little fun. So we'll send you off to commercial. And if you're still here with us on some of our platforms, which you will be, I did nothing this weekend. I shouldn't say. I mean, I visited friends, so on and so forth. But I didn't do anything of like real substance this weekend. And I was exhausted. I had a bunch of stuff around the house that I wanted to get done. Barely got any of it done. But I did complete my nemesis task. And my nemesis task is folding my laundry.
Oh.
I want to know, what is the mundane, everyday chore that you have trouble getting done? Because for me, I will wash my clothes. I wash on a regular schedule, but I also own that freaking dryer, and it's got a setting that I can hit that in 5 minutes, it'll steam the clothes and take the wrinkles out of them. And so my stuff just sits in that dryer for days and days at a time. I am the worst when it comes to folding my clothes. What's your nemesis chore there, fellas?
The dishwasher, man. I hate the damn dishwasher.
Loading or unloading?
Unloading.
Yeah.
Unloading. I got all the cabinets open. It's just, dog, I hate it. I fucking hate the dishwasher.
Why? What is it about it?
Dude, it's just like, it's like folding your clothes. Putting the dishes away is equal as, it's just like, you got to remember where everything goes, and then you got to sort the damn utensils, and it's just, dog. I'd rather paper plates every day. For
folding my clothes, I feel like it takes an hour.
It does,
and it doesn't.
But it takes 5 minutes.
It takes 5 minutes. We all know that, but it feels like it takes an hour to get done, and so that's why I can't do it. I mean, but I feel you, Sterls. David, what's your mundane chore that you just cannot make yourself do?
Sweeping and vacuuming.
Yeah,
I don't mind the dishes.
Okay,
I don't actually do the laundry. I do the dishes, so it's different.
Look at this guy.
But sweeping and vacuuming, especially with the trees throwing their leaves right now, like it looks gross. It feels gross when you're walking around barefoot, and I just fucking hate it.
Do you like vacuuming and seeing the lines in the carpet?
That is. I mean,
yes,
that's a nice feeling.
It's like doing a golf course or a baseball field. Like I want the lines.
Here's the thing: if you give me a list of chores, I'm picking the two that you hate off the top first off. Like if we're divvying up the stuff, I'll take sweeping and vacuuming A1 on the list. Like that is my 1-1 chore draft pick. And then putting the dishes away is 1-2 for me. So it's interesting.
When the Bills go to the Super Bowl and we have to rent a house for a week to go out there and do some podcasting, I'll take care of the dishes. Sterls, you're on laundry, and Rob, you're on sweeping and vacuuming.
Cool, because we'll be there for a week, so I won't need to sweep or vacuum once. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Here's
we'll need a few more viewers.
Here's a trivia question for you guys, courtesy of Sunday NFL Countdown. Most red zone touchdowns in the last 5 seasons. Who you got?
I mean, I feel like this is pretty obvious.
Can you name 3? I think we kind of have an idea who number 1 is.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is pretty obvious. Number 1 is Josh Allen.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
No,
I figured with the tush push.
Nope.
No, I think that's a good guess though.
That's a good guess.
So
Lamar?
what are we doing? Top 3 you're saying?
Top 3.
Yeah, I like Lamar there. I think that's a good answer.
Lamar, nope.
Interesting. Saquon Barkley.
No, these are quarterbacks.
All quarterbacks.
Only quarterbacks. I'll give it to you. I'll give you one more guess.
Yeah, let me just say one more. What did you say? Last 3 years?
Last 5 years, red zone
Last
touchdowns.
5 years.
These are all
5
quarterbacks.
years.
Baker.
No.
Show me
Potato salad.
Kyler Murray.
No. So the top three, Josh Allen with 150, Patrick Mahomes with 131, and Justin Herbert with 101 here.
That's so much less. God damn.
I don't know why I didn't feel like Patrick was going to be in there. I don't know if it's maybe like a big play thing, or I feel like they run the ball when they get down there. You don't think about him scoring rushing touchdowns all that often. But that's interesting. Yeah, I wonder why he wasn't in my brain.
Not at all.
All right. So if you're just joining us, you're getting back to the stream. The question was, what's the mundane chore that you just can't bring yourself to do? I just don't fold my laundry. It doesn't happen. I bought an extra expensive dryer that will push steam in there and unwrinkle my clothes in 5 minutes. I don't even have to iron anything. I don't have to steam it. I just can't bring myself to fold my clothes. So feel free to drop in the chat what your mundane chore is that you just can't do. Let's get to these afternoon games, fellas. Rams and Saints, two teams, it felt like the Rams were crawling back into it and the Saints were totally gone. Guys, they're a game apart in the standings. Rams are 5-6, Saints are 4-7. Rams headed to New Orleans, giving 2.5 points. I do feel like they are the better team without question, but the Saints have been playing better under interim coach. I can't remember the Rizzler. I can't remember what his actual name is. But they've been playing better under interim. I take a dump in the coach's office head coach. David, what do you got for this game?
So there's a couple injuries here that I think are of note. For the Rams, their tackle Leviston is going to be out, and so is Higbee. That's a big receiver for him, or tight end. I think that's something to think about. For New Orleans, you've got the center guard combo McCoy and the tackle Patrick, both injured. Patrick's out. McCoy's questionable, so that offensive line for New Orleans has some question marks for me. I'm going to take the home dogs here. I don't think, yes, the Rams I think are a better team, but I think right now the Saints are playing pretty good football at home. Give me the Saints here.
The Saints, huh? Darren Rizzi is the name that you guys are looking for.
Thank you. I'm just going to call him the Rizzler. Go ahead, buddy. What you got?
So right now the Rams are 4-7 against the spread versus the Saints at 5-6. Right now the betting community has taken the Rams -2.5. On the money line, the Rams again 82%, and if you are the under over type, 65% of the bets have gone on the over. Matt Stafford, according to PFF, he has a rating of 68.7, whereas Derek Carr is at 86.2. Think about that. I do think Stafford's played the better ball this season. So we'll see. I want to take the Rams here. I just think that's, even though it's a game apart, but I feel like these are two different teams. The Rams, to me, are the much better squad at this point, even though the Saints are at home. So I'll take the -2.5 with the Rams.
Swapping gear.
Yeah, sorry I lost you guys there for a second. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're good.
Who did you say you were going to take?
I'm going to take the Rams -2.5.
Rams -2.5.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams -2.5 too. I think it's been a sweet story for them. Very, very nice, very cute for the Saints. But I don't actually think they're that talented of a team, and I am just like, get me out of here on David Carr. David.
Yeah,
Derek Carr.
Derek.
Same thing.
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
right.
I think the Rams need a win here to stay in it, and I think the Rams are a good team. that has had injury problems at the beginning of the year, came back a little bit. They ran into a buzzsaw last week in the Eagles, but I think they're going to stay in this playoff race all the way to the end here. So I'll take the Rams -2.5. All right, Bucks and Panthers. The Bucks at 5-6, still alive in that NFC South race. Obviously, really the only ones putting pressure on the Atlanta Falcons. They're -6.5 going to the Panthers, who have been game recently. I mean, took the Chiefs all the way down to the end. Bryce Young's been playing better, gotten a couple wins here. That's interesting as 6.5-point home dogs. Panthers and Buccaneers in the afternoon today, though I will say somebody threw out the I don't care game of the day. This might be the I don't care game of the day. David, who do you got here?
So we got some injuries here. Smith, Watts, and Whitehead are definitely out for Tampa Bay. Tristan Wirfs and Nelson are questionable. Carolina's got a couple, including Caleb Farley being questionable. Coker and Sanders are out. Again, this is one I bet 4 games early this week, and this is one of them where the Bucks I got at -6, and I liked the pick at the time. The Panthers have really come around. Still not a great team, still not loaded with talent, but playing better. I'm still going to go with the Bucks here, but it's one if you told me you were going with the Panthers, I'd buy that just as easily.
Strolls?
So right now, the Bucks are 7-4 against the spread, which is pretty nice. Panthers are 4-7, surprisingly. Last week was crazy. I don't know how many of you guys took the Panthers with the spread here. But let's see. We got 82% of the bettors, -6.5 with the Bucks. And then the money line is 92% with the Bucks, and the over/under is at 73 with the over. Everybody's taking these overs today, man. I don't know if I agree with all that, but Baker Mayfield again is having a good season according to PFF. Here, he is a rating of 81.3. So I think even though their defense isn't great, Baker has found ways to make plays and keep this offense on schedule. So give me the Bucks here -6.5.
This just feels like a game that the Bucks should win. And
Should.
Picking the Panthers, aren't you?
Those are the games that they lose. I'll take the Panthers +6.5. Listen, I think the Bucks do end up winning this game on something heartbreaking for the Panthers, but I think this game is close. Like I said, Bryce Young's been playing better.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like a touchdown at home is too much. I don't trust the Bucks that much. But when I say that, the Bucks end up blowing somebody out. So feel free to bet the Buccaneers -6.5. You should feel great about it. All right, the CBS afternoon game, the big one. Eagles, Ravens, 9-2 versus 8-4. And a little Delco action going on for you there, David. Listen, the Eagles absolutely spanked the Rams on Sunday Night Football last week. They looked every bit of the juggernaut we've expected them to be over the past couple years that they have not been living up to. I think they're a better team than the Ravens as a whole. And I say that offense, defense, special teams. But the Ravens find a way to keep games close because that running game can just control the clock, control the game. You've got two teams who want to do that here, which means there's not going to be a lot of possessions. We're taking away opportunities on offense. So it's going to be interesting to see who can convert more of their opportunities because I feel like there's going to be so few of them.
Here's a quick question for you, though. Which one of these teams run the most? Which one would you think?
Well, you would think the Ravens.
Eagles.
But I was going to say, I think it's the Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles at 50.5%, whereas the Ravens are at 46.1%. Pretty interesting.
I mean, listen, ride the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter which guy you got. They've both looked great so far this season. And, both outside MVP candidates in the conversation at least. Man, CBS has been getting lucky with these games. I feel like every time Fox has like the big late game, it's a total dud, and every time CBS has the late game, it's Bills Chiefs or Eagles Ravens or whatever. So, Eagles plus 3 points headed down to Baltimore to play the Ravens. David, what do you got here?
Baltimore, Charlie Kohler, their tight end, is out. Millet's out. Kyle Van Noy is questionable. Some of the concerns here for Philadelphia: Slay out, Van Sermon out, Wilson out, Devontae Smith questionable.
Which I think he's going to be out, is what I heard.
Yeah. So I'm betting with my heart and my hope, and I'm going to take the Eagles. This feels like 200-yard running back game where both teams just run the hell out of the ball, and it's going to be over quickly. I think it'll be close, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Eagles because I think overall, I think they're playing more consistently. With Slay out, I have some concerns about their defense and being able to stop Baltimore, but we'll see how that goes today.
Did I use Delco properly?
You did.
Yeah, let's go. Look at me knowing stuff. All right, Sterls, who you got here?
Man, the community is pretty split on this one, but the Eagles are 7-4 against the spread versus the Ravens are 6-5-1. 68% of bettors have taken the Eagles plus 3. Money line suggests that 64% have taken the Ravens, and the over is 50.5. People are hitting the over. 7% of the bets there have been on the over again. What a coincidence there. These two quarterbacks, both of them have been playing extremely well. Here's something of note, though. Lamar Jackson, passer rating under pressure is a 95, whereas Jalen Hurts is a 74.3. So if you can get pressure on Jalen Hurts and any quarterback, really, you're going to find some success there. Ravens are at home. I'm going to go with the Ravens here -3. When I've doubted the Ravens this year, they've done the exact opposite. So I do think the Ravens are going to get them this week. Derrick Henry probably is going to have another good game, even though the Eagles defense is pretty damn good, especially that front four. I just think that the Ravens are going to beat them today.
Let me say this loud and with my chest. The Eagles should be -3 for this game. They are going to win. I think they're going to win big. I think the Eagles are a much better team than the Baltimore Ravens. And that's not a slight on the Baltimore Ravens, but somebody just hit a drop? What happened? somebody just hit a saucy drop there? Yeah, nice job. Yeah, listen, the Ravens defense is not great. It's just not. And maybe they can figure some stuff out as we go through the year. But I think when either team is going to need to find passing yards, I think the Eagles are going to have an easier time doing it than the Ravens will. This line, we've talked about a couple of them today that are confusing and stink a little bit. This one stinks to me. Feels like they want you to take the Eagles. Feels like they know something that you don't. I'm going to walk right into the trap. I absolutely think the Eagles are the better team here. I will happily take my 3 points and look for at some point them to get up big and to middle it and bet the Ravens. This is another game that's a strong middle candidate for me. But I don't think the Ravens talent-wise match up to the Eagles here. I feel like people are maybe betting on them to drop off like they did last season.
Fair.
I don't think that's coming. I do not think that's coming. I think your two coordinators this year are head and shoulders better. And what Nick Sirianni does best or needs to do is stay out of the way, right? And that's what he did a couple years ago when he had Steichen and Gannon. Now that he's got Fangio and Kellen Moore, you let those guys do their job, and I think this Eagles team is going to keep humming. I'll take the Eagles +3. All right. Let's throw it up there, fellas. Let's see what it looks like. There has been a lot of talk about the snow game in Buffalo. This is the live look. Thanks to our friends at Admar Construction. Their YouTube feed. You see a live look of Buffalo as they build the brand new stadium there in Buffalo. And that new stadium looks gorgeous. Excited for that. But aside from that, I mean, we're down to pavement here, fellas. Like, let's not overplay the snow game thing. I'm not. Everybody's all, I don't know about the game tonight. Blah blah blah. Get out of here. This is Buffalo. It's you talking about a foot over a 4-day period. Get out of here. Get out. The game's going to be fine. It's going to look beautiful. At least to start off with. I heard the snow shower is going to taper off as we get into the game here. And the Mafia is hardy. They will show up and show out and not concern about it. So it looks like the weather is going to be okay in Buffalo. For Sunday Night Football, we've got Niners and Bills. Niners catching 6 points. Coming off, the whole stretch that's been not very good for them here. You would think that this team was going to be one of the premier teams in the NFC, and they find themselves toiling around 500, looking for a way to make the playoffs. Luckily, that avenue is still available to them because nobody has taken control of the NFC West. They are still very much in it, but they are still very much injured. David, what do you got for this one?
This one's kind of a monster. Luckily, the Bills are coming out of the bye a little bit healthier. Kincaid is still out this week, and Keon Coleman and Matt Milano are questionable. I'd expect both of them to play in a kind of limited capacity. Obviously, Coleman still working on that arm, and Milano coming back from the bicep tear and last year's leg injury. San Francisco, and this has been the story all season, especially the last 4 weeks. This is the list of San Francisco 49ers who are already out for the game. Banks, Bosa, their D tackle Elliott, Lenore, their cornerback, Trent Williams, who we talked about this last week, and in a text message, that's a person who does not miss games. That man is a monster, and he's out. Javon Greenlaw out. And then Givens, Green, Purdy, and Connolly are all questionable. Jesus. That's a lot of injuries. That's a fairly warm weather team coming into Buffalo with the snow.
Let's throw a couple things out there, though. So Purdy, it sounds like, is going to play.
Yep.
Is the last report that I heard. So sounds like he'll go. And what I didn't hear you say, which maybe you did because I was checking my bat, but Charvarius Ward, did you mention him?
I did not.
So he is not on the injury report, unfortunately. Tragic death of his daughter, infant daughter, due to heart disease. And so he had been away from the team for a week or so. Got back to practice this week, but rumors was he wasn't traveling with the team. I don't know if he's traveling or not, but they have said he won't play. So it's just another guy that you're taking off of that defense. Of course, our hearts go out to him. I mean, that's terrible news.
Seriously.
But, as for the game goes, it's another guy that you're taking off that defense when you've already, David, mentioned a whole bunch of injuries on that side of the ball.
It's brutal. And having been a Bills fan for so long, going towards the end of the season with a huge injury list feels too familiar. And the fact that we're getting healthier is surprising and lovely. 49ers coming into a weather game. Oh, yeah. Already did. Already knocked on wood. Don't worry about it. That being said, the Buffalo Bills are not great covering running backs out of the backfield. And this guy, Christian McCaffrey, don't know if you've heard of him, is decent at that. Now, he's still not 100% off that injury, but he is playing, and that would be my outlet. They also have a monster in a backup running back who kind of gave the 49ers a little bit of life in the backfield while he was out. I just don't think, how much more of a team do you have with 10 people out, including a bunch of your, Trent Williams, you lose your star stud left tackle. A lot of teams might fold up after that. And that your number one and top 5 tight end in the league is not 100%. He's going. That doesn't matter. He's going. But good God, I'm taking Buffalo here. And I think it may be a sloppy game. I think both teams are going to have to run the ball because the wind and conditions aren't going to be ideal. But give me Buffalo here at home with a riled up, real saucy Bills Mafia in the stands, shirts off, going absolutely nuts.
Sterles.
Well, here's one thing that I hear you guys mention. So Brock Purdy doesn't have a strong arm, and it's going to be windy and cold. Advantage Bills. Josh Allen, best big time throw percentage in the league at 6.30. Okay. Now, the betting community says this is split. It's 50-50 on the spread. So 50% of bettors have gone with the 49ers and Bills. 93% have gone on the money line. If you're an over-under guy, 86 on the over at 44.5. Give me the Bills. The Bills have second best point differential in the league, behind the Detroit Lions here. So -6.5 with the Bills. I'm taking it
to clinch the division for the 5th year in a row.
Okay, so I have said on this podcast before, if you're a new listener, thanks for joining us. You got a couple minutes here to throw in your questions about your bets, your fantasy football team, your survivor picks, whatever you want to throw in the chat, you can. But if you're new here, thanks for joining us. I have said several times, I will say once again, that I don't bet Buffalo Bills games because I feel like I can't look at it objectively. I look at it with rose-colored glasses, and I fully admit that. So I'm going to give you two different takes here. My first take is going to be my Bills fan take. Sean McDermott, off a bye. Incredible. Bills, in weather, very good. Bills, when they have had a chance to clinch the division in years past, absolutely nails. You can go back to 2020. They clinched it by beating the Broncos. They don't back into division championships. 2020, they clinched it by beating the Broncos. 21, they clinched it by beating the Jets. 22, they clinched it by beating the Bears. Last year, we all know the
Dolphins.
Sunday night football game in Miami for the Dolphins. This is a team that when it's a T-shirt and hat game, they show up for that, and I appreciate that about them. And so my Bills fan take is, smash the Bills on this one. They are going to absolutely show up off their bye week and clinch the division earlier than almost ever has happened in the NFL. I think 5 teams have clinched it this early in the history of the NFL. Now, let me give you some breakdown. Everybody is picking the Bills. Everybody is picking the Bills here. You still got Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
You still got Deebo Samuel. You still got George Kittle. And you still have one of the best running game play callers that the league has ever seen. They will find ways to get short passes open. 6 points in a weather game for a team with that much talent is a lot. And so if I was giving betting advice, I think I'd tell you to take the 6. And look for that middle. Look for the Niners to try to score early and see if you can get the Bills at a reduced number. But 6 points in a bad weather game is a lot of points. That is a talented football team that has been going through injury. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the Bills. I'm more concerned about their defensive side of the ball than their offensive side of the ball. But that offense can still move the football, and if it turns into a shootout, 6 points is going to be pretty nice to have in your back pocket. So I'm just going to give you both of those takes.
Pick one.
I'm extremely confident in the Bills today, but 6 points is a lot.
Get off of the fence.
It's not a fence.
You got to pick one.
No,
you
I
got to
don't.
pick one.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Need it, gotta have it.
I'm picking the Bills to win, and I'm telling you, if you're betting, I'd take the 6 points.
So you're taking the Niners. No fence. All right.
I'm not taking anybody because I don't bet the Bills games. We already talked about this. We already talked about it. There's a reason.
It's a cop out.
It's not a cop out.
It's a cop out.
It's not a cop saying I'm picking the Bills to win, and if I'm betting, I'm taking the Niners plus 6.
All right.
10 toes down, stand on it, dog.
That is me standing on it. That's me picking the Bills not to cover. I don't know.
All right.
What else you want me to do?
Let's jump to Monday night.
No. I will not have you talk shit like that. That's absolutely
good job, Dave.
Gabs, do not. You have been absent all season. Do not jump in here and give me a biased on the very last
him,
pick
Gabs.
of
Get him.
week 14. Gabs, you've not been here all year. You don't get to talk like that. I don't know how else am I supposed to pick that? I'm telling you, I'm picking the Bills to win and the Niners with the points.
It's not good enough.
Why is that
it's
not
a
good
very
enough?
it's a very Ohio State approach to it. It's
I'm
soft.
saying I think the Bills will win and not cover. I don't.
Nah, dog. Come on, man. Dave, when Matt Milano steps on that field, come on, dog.
What about it?
The stadium's going to go nuts. There's going to be so much momentum going towards the Bills. And then you guys just kind of overstepped my point. Brock Purdy, in terms of arm strength in the cold in Buffalo, man, the ball's going to sail on him a little bit.
I answered your point, and I'll answer it again. He's not going to have to throw the ball more than 5 yards. This is what Kyle Shanahan does.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's going to design a game plan where CMC, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle are catching the ball less than 5 yards away because he knows his quarterback's shoulder is shot, and he's going to design a game plan where he's not throwing the ball downfield, period. They've got plenty of talent to get the ball out to their good players quickly and execute an offense that doesn't require Brock Purdy to throw the ball downfield.
I'm looking for another Austin Johnson big guy interception at the line on some sort of screen pass or short pass.
Prop bet?
Fat guy, can you get a prop bet on a fat guy touchdown?
I don't know.
God, I hope so. All right.
I'll take a touchdown for a guy who weighs over 300 pounds plus 750. All right. Last game of the week, Browns and Broncos, one that turns out to mean a whole lot. I mean, I was looking at this when it was scheduled, like Browns and Broncos on Monday Night Football late in the season. What are we doing here? And it turns out to matter. Broncos have been playing real good ball. And there's a lot of things that a lot of people want to say about Sean Payton, and I'm here to listen to all of them because I don't think he's the greatest human being. But you know what he is? A damn good football coach. He got that team to 500 last year, and he's looking like he's going to get this team to the playoffs this year. Broncos -6 on Monday Night Football here in Denver, taking on Jameis Winston and the Browns. What do you got, David?
Not a lot of injuries on either team. Nothing that would really concern you. The one thing I'll say is advantage Broncos with the altitude. I know the Browns are pretty happy with how they played against Pittsburgh in that snow game at sea level. Let's see how they fare. Again, Myles Garrett is just a monster, and I expect him to still have a game. But this Broncos defense is real. I think Jameis is probably going to have some issues. Here we go.
Mental health guy, what's up? Trumping into the chat here. Headed to the Denver area for the first time next weekend was one activity I need to do and one restaurant I need to eat at. I'm pretty open to anything. That's an interesting question. Show up at Stoney's and watch the Bills game with us. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, so restaurant, we'll let David just handle that.
Go ahead, Dave.
Jerks off to that stuff. So.
As a former chef, Denver's got a pretty good food scene. Depends what your style is and what your price range is. Some stuff I'm a really, really big fan of. If you're looking for tacos de Mexico, just south of downtown Denver. Cuban food, Cuba, also just south of downtown. Plenty of breweries, plenty of distilleries, also some recreational cabbage if you're into that sort of thing. If you're coming to Denver, if you can get out to Red Rocks and just see where amazing shows go on all the time, that's a fun one. But Meow Wolf, if you're into art, come on to Denver and let us know. You can also hit us up on Twitter and we can give you some more recommendations. But for this game, Broncos.
Oh, hold on. We'll get to the game in a second. Sterls, what's your little Denver? Give him a quick little Denver synopsis here.
I would definitely not suggest going to Meow Wolf. I mean, you have to be on some kind of drugs to enjoy that. Oh man, dude.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to Denver.
Yeah, man. Food wise, there's nothing that really comes to mind. I mean, there's some good spots, but where the real question is, where does mental health guy live? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Because then I could tell you, like, okay, because I know what we have. I don't know what you don't have. Because you want to travel somewhere, you want to eat something that you really don't have access to.
I can tell you things that you don't have because you're
New Mexico. He's in New Mexico.
Okay, well,
so he probably doesn't want Mexican food, right?
I mean, listen, our green chili is better than yours. Two things I would say. One, if you have never been to Real Mountains, what I do with everybody who comes here is, even if you know it's true, mental health guy, if you've never been to Real Mountains, just take a drive up I-70. And whether that's going to Breckenridge and having dinner up there, or just taking a drive over the pass to Winter Park or whatever, I mean, anybody who's never seen Real Mountains, when I do that, they're like, holy crap, I could not have imagined what this actually looks like. So yeah, I would say for the thing that you need to do, it's get deep into the mountains and really see what the big ones look like. Got to be careful with traffic when it comes to snowboarding and stuff like that. Weekend traffic on I-70 can get a little bit dicey, so be careful there. But it's worth driving up into the mountains to see if you never have before. And then if you're looking for weird places, I believe it's the oldest steakhouse west of the Mississippi, is the Buckhorn Exchange.
Buckhorn.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got some crazy stuff. You can get,
rattlesnake, rabbit,
fried bull testicles, all that kind of stuff. So if you're into weird stuff, either there or the Fort is the other option for that. But they're both kind of like old timey Western. I've never had this before. I'm gonna do something crazy. So those would be the two places that
There's also Williams and Graham as a really
speakeasy.
Yeah. Go check out a speakeasy. We got some pretty cool ones down here in Denver. So Williams and Graham is definitely go have a drink there.
Is it Graham or Grant? I thought it was Grant.
Graham.
Is it Graham?
Like graham cracker.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back to this Bronco game here. Browns and Broncos. Browns +6. You said you got the Broncos, David?
Yes, sir.
So you're laying the 6 points. Sterls, who you got here?
Against the spread, Browns 4-7, Broncos 9-3 against the spread. We got 71% of the community -6 on the Broncos. We got 93% on the Broncos money line. Over suggests the over again at 83%. I'm gonna go with the Broncos here at -6. I think being in Denver, I think it's hard for opponents here. Another week of Bo Nix playing well. I'm excited to see that. So I think coaching wins this one. I do think the Broncos have the better coach, so -6 with the Broncos.
Well, we did it, guys.
We got one.
For the first time today, we're all on the same side. I'm going to take the Broncos too. I think that Sean Payton is on a mission to get Bo Nix Rookie of the Year. And I think they're going to continue to pull out all the stops to try to make that happen. This Browns defense is really good, but I think they have kind of proved themselves over the past couple weeks and don't necessarily feel like they need to continue to try to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see a Monday Night Football game, how amped up everybody is for this. The Broncos haven't been good and relevant for a long time. And the fact that they're going to have a night game at Mile High with a team that they think that they can beat, I mean, it's going to be raucous at Empower Field at Mile High Stadium. And so I'm counting on the Denver fans to really bring it too. So I'll lay the 6 points and think that the Broncos get the win. And hey, guess what, guys?
We did it.
That's it. We did it. We did it.
Nice work.
Go ahead.
Also, a huge shout out to everybody watching. We've got a nice number of people following along. Lots of people in the chat. Appreciate you all. And
yeah, we do this every Sunday. We call it Your NFL Pregame Show because we'll answer whatever questions you bring, even who has the better green chili, which we know is in Denver, not in New Mexico. Thanks, Mental Health Guy. So make sure you join us. We do this at 8 a.m. Mountain on Sundays. You can also watch the replays, of course. You just need to follow us on social media, follow our YouTubes, follow our Twitches, give us those likes, those subscribes, all of that good stuff. Make sure you give us some love on social media. And, Sterls and I will be back doing some Bills podcasting this week, and maybe we get all three guys together to talk some NFL because it's about to get spicy in here. You know what I mean? we're getting down to the nitty gritty. And we will be back next week to preview all your bets, all your games. So make sure you join us then. It's your NFL pregame show. Go Bills.
Go Bills.